choice. He has absolutely nothing to do with his name. We have this problem going on. But when you look, when 82 million toppled one person, we were all happy and excited, jumping, saying, Takbir, Allahu Akbar. Imagine when one person stands against the entire population of the known world at his time. When Ibrahim stands in front of a Namrud, and there is no one that believes in what Ibrahim believes. That's why we respect the prophets and messengers. When one topples 82 million, you take your hat off to that one. When Ibrahim, when he destroyed the idols and the temples, they built a huge fire. They couldn't even get close to the fire. They had to throw him with a catapult. He landed in the fire and Allah saved him. And that's when the king took note of that. And he's like, who's this man who's making noise in my kingdom? Bring him here. So he goes and stands in front. From standing in front of his father, to standing in front of his people, to standing in front of the Namrud himself, to standing in front of the people of Haran who worship the stars, to stand in front of the king of Egypt who tried. And when they went to Egypt, Ibrahim comes and tells his wife, let me tell you something. On planet Earth, there are only two people who are believers, you and I. So if they ask you, who am I? You tell them, I am your brother. Don't tell them I'm your husband. You tell them I'm your husband, I'm going to be killed on the spot. You tell them I'm your brother, I have a chance they put me in jail. So imagine someone walking on the planet, only him and his wife are believers, standing against the world, trying to find somewhere where they would listen to them and believe in their message. And it seems they can't find that place. And Islam survived when there was only two people walking with faith on this planet. Don't you think it should survive when there is 1.5 billion people walking with it? It should. But sometimes a 1 is equal to a billion. And sometimes 2 are equal to 1.5 billion. It depends on the quality, not on the quantity. But inshallah, we see what's happening right now, and Muslims are waking up, and we're going through the delivery pain, freedom that is inspiring the world. How could peaceful protests, and how could new generation of Muslims, we need a new generation here. And the new generation is taking over. And the exciting thing about the new generation amongst ICNA is they are the new generation who are from here to here. May Allah cure us the immigrants, and I'm one of you, so don't worry. May Allah cure us. Because don't wonder why there are dictators in our countries, because it all starts at home. May Allah have mercy on our fathers. That's where dictatorship starts. You go home and the father is very harsh on his children. You know, when father comes home, oh, you think family dinner. Family dinner? When father comes home, kids hide under the bed and above the ceiling and in the cracks. That's when father comes home. And instead of disciplining the kids, he breaks their spine. Don't ever talk back to me. Even if I'm wrong, don't ever. You know, the kid says, Dad, you say, don't smoke, you're smoking. And next thing, his head is flying away. And then you go to school. And oh my God, your first grade teacher? Man, that was a Pharaoh on his own. He thought he ruled the world. And he was only the first grade teacher. And he would beat you and he would humiliate you. And then when you become in 6th grade, you get introduced to the Namrud, the principal of the school. I mean, am I not saying the truth? And then you grow up and you go to middle school with another Pharaoh and another tyrant and another Namrud. And then you go to high school and then you go to college. You can't even walk beside your teacher in college. You can't even walk on his shape. You will hurt his feelings. Of course. And then you move to your job, and in the job there is Pharaoh there. You wonder why there is a big Pharaoh? The whole country is Pharaoh. And that has created something called slave mentality. And the slave mentality, sometimes it's very hard to get away. It's very hard to get away, but Allah Azza wa Jal, with His mercy, He got a whole generation got lost in the wilderness with Musa alayhi salam for 40 years, until that whole old layer of generation that had a slave mentality all died naturally. And a whole new generation were born in the wilderness that were never slaves. And that generation went back to the Holy Land. And that's the natural law, the survival of the fittest. That's what it happens. That's what happens when we don't wake up. And Allah told us the natural way of sociology, if there is a generation and they have a slave mentality and they can't get rid of it, they will be gone, and a new generation will be born, not in bondage, not in slavery, and they will not have these limitations. So what we're hoping, that us, the generation of immigrants, we're not going to end up being completely total damaged product. But we will wake up, and we will have the honor to be part of the change, like the fathers and the grandchildren went at the youth at Tahrir Square and fell on the ground and start kissing the feet of the youth, telling them, you were able what we were not able to do. And the youth started crying, please, grandfather, raise up your head, please don't do that. Maybe we can wake up before it's too late. And you know, if Muslims have any plan to get out of this in this country, it's through 3 levels. 1, the level of information. Informing. We are at the age of information. This country is surviving. Our country is surviving on selling information to the rest of the world. It's the age of information. So we have to really master information and informing people about our faith. It's Allah who guides, it's not us. But people have the right to know. And they might not convert, but they will be your friends. And they will understand where you're coming from. Second is service. Service, service, service. You know, brothers and sisters, I find people sometimes, I don't know, are they reading the seerah? Are Muslims reading the seerah or not? The first 40 years of the life of the Prophet, does that count or it doesn't? Because most of us, we know what happened in the last 23 years. But do we know what happens in the first 40 years? The first 40 years were the prerequisites for the last 23 years. I mean, if you're wondering when the Prophet became a prophet, at age 40, excuse me, when they asked the Prophet, Messenger of Allah, when were you a prophet? He said, when Adam was still between water and clay, water and dirt. وَآدَمُ مُنْجَدِلٌ فِي طِينَتِهِ وَآدَمُ بَيْنَ التُّرَابِ وَالطِّينِ. One riwayah is ضعيفة, the other riwayah is hasan. I was a prophet of Allah when Adam was still between water and dirt. So if you're wondering when the Prophet was a prophet, Allah Azza wa Jal declared him at age 40. And the first 40 years, he was on the make. It was the prerequisites. And when he received the first revelation, what did his wife tell him? His wife, who saw a sincere man, sincere to his core, believes in what he does. He really embodies